Hello, I'm James,
Hi, I'm Jimmy,
and welcome to A Job Done Well.
the podcast that helps you improve your performance and enjoyment at work.
There's something a little bit different today.
Yes, it certainly is.
We've had a very interesting conversation with a lady called Dawn Wray, but we did ramble on a bit, didn't we? And so what we decided to do is get halfway through the episode, and we're going to leave you on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and we'll publish 2 episodes.
Another way of putting it, James, would be we had such a rich conversation. We didn't want it to stop with Dawn. There was so much fascinating insights. So what we've done is we spread it over 2 episodes.
Oh, much better. On with the episode. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Doing well, James. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much. What have we been up to?
So you'll be able to tell when we've recorded this, because at the moment I am living on a high with the fact that Nottingham Forest are 3rd in the league. And their top striker has just won Player of the Month, and their manager just won Player of the Month. So all is good in the world.
What league are they in?
It even outbalances the fact that the Americans elected Donald Trump for a second time.
Oh, yeah. That's stunning, isn't it? We won't talk about that. Go on, ask me how I am.
How are you, James?
I'm very good, thank you very much. I have been on holiday for 2 weeks. I've been in Sicily for 2 weeks.
Very sophisticated.
Underneath this tank top, I look like a sun-bronzed god, I can tell you.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah.
I need no proof. I'm just pleased that you went to Sicily for 2 weeks and never pissed anyone off so much that you
Well, I managed to get back.
Yeah, and you didn't have to find a horse's head in you.
They didn't
Bed or
understand what I
something.
was telling. My Italian's not that good. Right. Anyway, today we have with us a visitor. We've got
Excellent.
with us Dawn Wray. Hello, Dawn. Who is a Gestalt therapist. So before I go on and start making stuff up, Dawn, could you introduce yourself and then tell us what you do?
I'm Dawn. I am a relational Gestalt
sorry.
therapist. I used to work with you guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Not as a therapist. Though.
Not as a therapist, as an operations director that gets much kudos in my new therapy circles.
Yes.
But I used to work in banking.
I can imagine that goes down really well.
It does. You see what?
Yeah.
And now I have a private therapy practice. And
Called, because we'll give it a plug.
It's just Dawn Wray Therapy. I run a small company called The Listening Collective, and we do therapy-informed coaching for people like you, or like we used to be, I guess, in business.
So how did you get into this then?
So when I worked with you guys, I was always more interested in what happened in between people as a primary lens to look through than I was interested in the stuff itself. Like the technology is easy,
Yeah.
but the people are always the hardest part.
Yeah.
So I was kind of always interested in kind of doing that. I looked into psychology degrees. I was going to do an organizational psychology degree. I had all the forms filled in and everything, and I didn't do it.
Okay.
And I realized the reason I didn't do it was the ology part. I didn't want to study
Don't
it.
worry about it.
I didn't want to.
Demonology.
I didn't want to study about people. Like I like being with people.
Yeah.
I was having some therapy at the time too, Jimmy, and it was my therapist that said to me, "Do you realise that you're naturally a Gestalt psychotherapist?"
Really?
I went, "I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'll go and research it." And when I looked into it and realised that's kind of how I saw the world, it was how I experienced the world, I spent my retraining budget on starting a Gestalt psychotherapy course.
Oh, very good.
Nice.
And that's how I ended up here.
And that goes back to our discussion about changing careers,
Redundancy.
and stuff like that. And
So you're
how
in a whole host of places.
yeah, and how it often opens wonderful new doors for you.
Yeah.
So explain to us what Gestalt relational therapy actually is. As somebody, in the spirit of full disclosure, I
Tell you what you're talking about.
I don't understand what you're talking about, but more importantly, I was to say that I've been going to see a therapist for many years and always found it incredibly useful. But I guess the use I've always found it has been life stuff and more relationships outside of work.
Yeah, of course. So you two will both be familiar with systems thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to that. So Gestalt literally has no English translation. It's a German word that means roughly kind of silhouette or whole, or like how we see things as a whole, even though they're made up of parts. And it's based in Gestalt psychology in the kind of 50s and 60s and is phenomenological. in that it's about subjective.
Wow,
it is a big word.
James actually sat up for that word. He was like,
Oh,
you almost wrote it down. I'm going to use that word at some point.
Go on,
phenomenological.
I can, yeah, you
But
can say it. Okay.
You can put the Muppet music in if you want.
Yeah, go on.
Phenomenological, which means kind of roughly. Exactly. How we, like, a subjective experience. So all experience is subjective, and how we make meaning. There is no objective reality, only our subjective meaning and all the philosophy that goes with that. It's based on field theory, which is a bit like systems thinking. So everything is connected in some way, and that we're not isolated individuals. We're connected with each other. We're connected with the world where we live in and as part of an environment. It's not just about you.
Systems thinking is about the whole, thinking about work and work ecosystems as a whole environment and whole system, and how people think within the whole system, and how you try and improve things as part of that entire system.
Yeah. So if you expand that out to you being part of a bigger system, whether that system is your family, your team, your work, the planet, it's the same principle that we would work with you as an individual, but not from an individualistic point of view.
How do you work with people to actually help them improve? How's it work?
Their awareness would be the word I'd use. Their awareness of that system and their part in it. So on the premise that you are being affected and at the same time are affecting the environment around you. So it's about raising awareness of the relationship between individual and environment.
And then when you've got that awareness, what do you do with it?
Helping change the choices you might have.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to behave differently? Do you want to change something? Do you want to choose to do nothing? Often it's about raising awareness, because then you have different choices.
I remember somebody once talking to me about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they said was that on the whole, people do the best thing available to them at any given time, given how they see the world and what they believe. Yeah. But actually what you're doing is you're giving people a greater understanding of what's going on, so they've got more choices because they can see what's going on better.
Yeah. And that might also include, from a therapeutic perspective, what has gone on in their past. So you might see the world in a certain way because of blueprints laid down when you were you know, much younger, but actually that plays through in the work environment.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot of the things that how I was treated as a child, how they do impact my behavior 50 years later. By understanding that, I can choose how I behave in the future in situations that I come across. What's the difference between coaching and therapy?
It is a highly contested debate.
Yes.
So I was asked when I set the Listening Collective up, is this coaching or therapy? You have to choose. I don't believe you do.
Right.
I think most coaching models and qualifications have their roots in psychology and psychotherapy anyway. I believe that by having trained therapists doing the coaching that we do, it means that people know they're safe. It's like if you wanted to explore why, something that happened to you that when you were at university or as a kid, and actually you have an awareness that is affecting how you are at work, but that's private, then if you're working with us, you would know that you would be safe to go there. We are trained to go there.
Back to your point about the roots of some of your behaviors and attitudes and relationships are based in things that have happened to you in the past. When you're being coached, it tends, in my experience, to operate at a more superficial level.
Yeah.
It wouldn't get to that understanding of why can you not ask for help? As an example, it will deal with the superficial behavior.
Asking how you ask for help.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I know I'm not very good at. I struggle to ask for help.
Yeah.
Somebody will coach me on asking for help. I can't do it. Not because their coaching's not any good, but because the roots it has are way back in the past. Yeah. And until you understand that and disentangle that, I can't ask for help for stuff.
Yeah. That is absolutely spot on. Because the behaviours at work and the things that ostensibly you see on the surface are playing out and are happening, but the roots of how you are in the world, they're harder to get to. But that's where you find the answer somewhere.
And so the difference between coaching and therapy, you're saying it's hotly contested, but it's
well, but so it's an artificial
semantics.
concept.
Yeah, it's an element of
by
semantics.
definition, yeah.
However, there is huge power and opportunity in really getting a deeper understanding of what's driving your behavior at work.
Yeah.
We tend to observe the behavior at a superficial level and then work out, well, how do you do something around that, as opposed to why are they doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then, so 2 cases, your point, you're not very good at asking for help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I am dreadful at selling the stuff we do.
Yeah, we said, Dave, we'll have to talk to Dawn about this on Friday, because James has a complete blind spot.
Yeah, well, not blind spot, blockage. I just won't do it.
Yeah.
You can coach me all you like in how to get out and sell stuff. It's not going to happen because I don't really understand why I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
There's some blueprint you have deep down that says that I shouldn't do that.
This is wrong.
Something bad is going to happen.
And it wasn't even, so I'll even draw the slight nuance. It wasn't even selling stuff. It was just go and talk to people. So James will talk to people that he doesn't know. Happy to do that, but he won't reach out to people that he's known previously. Yeah. And saying, just go and do it, you're not going to do it. No, because there is something in his blueprint, as you say, that is completely stopping that.
Yeah. And so it's about how you get yourself unstuck, like where you're stuck in.
For God's sake. I'm having the moment here. All you can do is bloody cough.
I'm like a gooseberry in your therapy session. And all I'm doing is like choking.
God. So go on. We will get deep meaning.
Now I've got rid of that blockage.
Yeah, okay.
You carry on.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Where you're stuck and you're finding it hard to get settled, to kind of get yourself out there, makes me really curious. And if you're curious about where you're stuck and what it is that goes on for you, no matter telling you to do it, it's going to make you do it, is it?
Not at all. So until I understand why,
because it's not the same for you as it is for
it'd be totally
another
different
person.
Yeah, and for me, it is about, what's it about? I think it's something to do with the emotional bank account for me. So, the whole thing about you put stuff into the emotional bank account, But I hate the idea of taking something out of the emotional bank account.
He keeps saving up. He won't withdraw. Got a lot of credits in the bank with a lot of people, but he never wants to withdraw them.
But rather than going into that in depth now, really what we're saying is it's about understanding what your blockages are and helping people alleviate them.
And the relational part is important in that. Like how I feel in relation to you, not feeling comfortable asking me to do something for you. Because that might be helpful for you to know how I feel about that, what my relational response to you is.
Our builder, Wayne, was doing some work for us, and I was going down to London. I had to go on the train. And so I was walking down to the station, 15-minute walk, and it was starting to rain. And Wayne said, I'll give you a lift. I was like, no, it's all right. And genuinely didn't want to put him out. And when I was talking to my therapist about it as an example of me not being able to accept help, he was like, how do you think Wayne feels? He's putting himself out there to say, I will help you. He is going to get something out of that. He feels good. He's helped me, saved me from getting wet, and I've just rebuffed him. So I'm thinking, to your point, I don't want to take any credits out of my bank with Wayne. Actually, what I'm doing is destroying some of the value that he and I have, because I've taken away the opportunity from him for him to help me.
Yeah. And this is a lovely example of the subjective experience, the phenomenology, because it'll be different for everybody. Like what goes on for people in asking for help and what they tell themselves and what they imagine is happening for the other person is very individual.
Yeah.
And having the space to actually explore some of that stuff with somebody confidentially at work without your boss ever knowing about it, I think is brilliant.
Yeah, because your boss can't always coach you on some of those things.
The boss is the last person you want to do it, because you feel threatened by opening up in front of your boss. Yeah. Whereas if it's somebody independent, very different story.
So your boss wants to see you ask for the business or do the thing, whatever the thing is. What's getting you stuck from doing the thing your boss wants you to do might be deeply personal.
The show you're listening to right now brings you insights to help you improve performance and enjoyment of work.
It takes a long time to produce, but we think it's well worth it. It's all in the name of helping you getting the job done well.
All we ask in return is that you share the link to this show with someone that you think would benefit from it. And if you haven't already, click on follow the show wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. Anyway, let's get back to the show.
When we were discussing this earlier on, you talked about whole intelligence. So what is that? Can you explain that a wee bit?
Yeah. So whole intelligence is a movement, I suppose you'd call it, set up by a Gestalt psychotherapist called Malcolm Parlett. And Malcolm saw the transformation in people coming into therapy training and leaving therapy training. How did they learn to be different in the world?
Yeah.
And he summarized it as being these 5 things.
Right.
So they got better at understanding themselves.
Yeah.
And what was going on for them, which is kind of what we've just been talking about. They got better at having more meaningful conversations with other people and interrelating with other people. They got better at responding to situations, not just reacting.
Yeah.
They could take in a bigger picture when they responded to stuff.
Yeah.
They found new and different ways of doing things that weren't part of the pattern or the script they might have always had.
Yeah.
And then the hardest one, I think, for most people is they learned to understand not just their cognition, but actually how we are intelligent through our whole body. Like how actually your whole being is giving you information about what's going on. Like we talk about gut feel, don't we? Heartfelt or like actually so many people only talk about thinking, not about how tense their body might be or how their breath, what happens with their breath when they go into that meeting. Or
so it ties in a wee bit to the conversation. I don't know if you listened to it. We had a lady come on, Rachel Edmondson Clark, she talked to us about moods and emotions.
Yes.
Yeah. It's amazing how many people hold their stress physically rather than mentally.
Yeah.
So you'll say, I'm not stressed out, but actually your shoulders are all tensed up or your jaw is tensed up or something like that. So you are stressed. And because you're not recognizing it, you don't deal with it. So you've got these 5 things that he realized that were the transformation therapist went through. And what does that mean in terms of their overall performance, their lives, their capability?
But then he realized it's not just about people training in therapy.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't we all live better? Wouldn't we all be more wholly intelligent is why he calls it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we all flow through life in a different way if we could all get better at these things? Then we would help one stick when we can't ask for business. We would be better at asking for help. We would speak up more in the meeting, or because we would understand some of the factors at play more wholly.
That it's really about awareness, is that?
Yeah, awareness.
Yes,
but that will help them live better lives, perform better at work, have better relationships.
Yeah. It's about how do we live happily, more contentedly, more productively, whatever the more is, there's always a thing.
But there have been times when I've been sitting in meetings and things have gone awry. And really, they've gone awry because I just ran out of options. I wasn't sure how to steer the conversation. I didn't know what was going on. I felt uncomfortable. And all of a sudden, you find yourself in a dreadful position. Whereas if you've got more options and you can see what's going on better, then, you'll get a better outcome, which I suppose is the whole point, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I get increasingly frustrated by silver bullets. There's an easy answer. There's an answer. Because maybe actually the search for quick fixes and silver bullets and like A to B done, maybe that is the problem.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe there needs to be more space for exploring these 5 things in order to understand and embrace the complexity of what's going on.
Well, I think
rather than assuming that there's a simple answer.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the challenges more generally in life, isn't it? You know, we're in a world where everyone wants a quick answer, quick fix. Kids want immediate gratification. Everything's got immediacy to it. Whereas some things do take a bit longer to get into.
But some of these thorny things we deal with at work,
they're not.
They're complex.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not simple. The world is complex. Businesses, people are complex.
Yeah, but people like simple answers, don't they?
They do.
And
Well, it's not just life. We are addicted to simple answer.
But what if the simple answers, the quick answers, what if that is the problem? What if we're actually creating problems
well, go on.
by
Oversimplifying
things, and therefore we keep skidding past everything and
Well,
never actually addressing.
And I
what
think
might
that's
be going
really
on.
interesting, right? And I'll get political, but the recent US election, I think it's a really valid point. So people like simple answers. President Trump has promised everybody that the solution to their economic woes is he's going to get rid of immigrants. We'll shut the border and we'll throw everybody out. And people like that because it's really simple and they think it's going to work.
Well,
But
it's easy to understand, but it's a hugely complicated problem.
It's something else that's making me cross, the polarizing of things.
Yeah.
Because the opposite of simple answers and quick fixes, and I think this showed up in the US election as well,
Yeah.
is an ideological left-wing namby-pamby world that people, only the educated elite can take part in.
Yeah.
And that polarizing view misses what is actually going on.
Yeah.
And I think these 5 principles, for me, address not this simple view or this ideological view, but we have to start being with what is.
Right. Go on.
Regardless of whether it's here or there, because it's neither here nor there. It's probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
Because we need to start meeting our people with how things are, not with how we would wish them to be or oversimplifying them. And I had it with AI. So I guess you've talked about technology.
We have talked about AI.
And I think in some circles that I know I'm in, people are, I reject AI. Like, I'm not doing it. It's poisoning our children. And I have teenage kids.
Yeah.
And that is their reality. So you can reject it as much as you like, but by taking a completely opposite view and saying we all need to go back to, eating nuts in the wood, you're then polarizing again.
Yeah.
So, but what these 5 things do is let's just stop and meet what is actually there, whether we like it or not. There might be conflict, there might be politics, but let's be with what is. And I think we find that increasingly hard to just stay with what is.
As an advocate of simplification, I think it really has its place where we have overcomplicated things that we do, overcomplicated processes, ways of working, systems. But actually, when it comes to some of the challenges around people, I think that's much more difficult to simplify. To your point, if you keep looking for simple solutions to complicated problems, you're not necessarily getting to the root cause of those.
Well, and there's a difference between simple and simplistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's that quote, I can't remember who it was by, but things should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler. Yeah, but that's really your...
Is that, when you say that quote, is that something you said, James?
No. I'm going to look it up. I'll put it in the show notes.
You do like to do. That quote, I can't remember who it is, and you want to give some of your wisdom, but you make out like it's some guru, when actually it's just you, James. It's just your wisdom.
Of his book.
Yeah, all right, let's move on.
There's no wrong with that.
Go on.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course. He does. That's his line. That is his line. He's like Columbo.
You'll
just
never
one
have
more
me
thing.
back, will you?
One more thing.
We might. You never know. Go on.
I went to see my daughter in her production of The Addams Family on Monday.
Yeah.
And there was a song in the show, and it was called Happy and Sad. And the premise was that his daughter was growing up, Gomez was singing it, and he's happy because she's growing up, and he's sad that she's not his little girl anymore. And the premise of the song was that you can be happy and sad.
At the same time.
Yeah. And for me, it's that. Like, the song made me cry because you can be happy and sad. There isn't night and day, there's dawn. And
very good.
And dusk.
Right.
This was in the show. That wasn't mine.
Yeah.
But it's the ability to hold both polarities and know that there is a simpler solution, but that you can have both. It's not just one or the other.
It gives you more options. So we did warn you there was going to be a cliffhanger.
Interesting stuff. You'll have to wait till next week, though, to find out more about the 5 explorations and what they might mean to you.
Speak to you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
We cover a whole host of topics on this podcast, from purpose to corporate jargon, but always focused on one thing: getting the job done well.
Easier said than done. So if you've got unhappy customers or employees, bosses or regulators breathing down your neck,
if your backlogs are out of control and your costs are spiraling, and that big IT transformation project that you've been promised just keeps failing to deliver,
we can help. If you need to improve your performance, your team's performance, or your organization's, get in touch at jimmy@ajobdonewell.com.
or James at jobdonewell.com.